Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Thursday, November 10th, 2022. Today's show, college basketball, NBA, NHL, college football, Thursday night football, golf, The Masked Singer, Survivor, news and notes, and best bet. We'll start with college basketball. We'll go over the small window from yesterday, look ahead to a little bit of a larger window for today. But it's a lot of Division II and Division III schools. Western Illinois over Rockford, 113-56. Howard over District of Columbia, 87-74. Prairie View over North American, 95-68. Robert Morris over Pittsburgh Greenberg, 84-49. Davidson over Wright State, 102-97 in double overtime. Winthrop over Piedmont, 17-56. Marist over American, 73-69. James Madison over Hampton, 106-58. Youngstown State over Tennessee Martin, 90-72. Fairleigh Dickinson over Mercy, 106-66. Norfolk State over Cairn, 87-59. South Alabama over Mobile, 97-59. Arkansas Pine Bluff over Champions Christian, 87-55. Missouri State over Missouri S&T, 82-47. Drake over IUPUI, 80-48. Utah Valley over Western Colorado, 91-64. LSU over Kansas City, 74-63. South Dakota over Lipscomb, 85-77. Seton Hall over Monmouth, 79-52. South Dakota State over Boise State, 68-66. Grand Canyon over San Diego Christian, 101-50. UC Davis over California Maritime, 90-67. Bellarmine over Louisville, 67-66. Seattle over Puget Sound, 106-55. San Diego over Florida Gulf Coast, 79-73. And Portland over Florida A&M, 91-54. All right, today's game is 12 o'clock. Clinton College, Queens. Ouachita Baptist, Northwestern State at 1. 5, you have Baldwin Wallace, Kent State. 6, you have Campbellsville, Harrodsburg, Morehead State. St. Thomas, Texas, Rice. And on ACC Network, Lehigh, Virginia Tech. My projection for this game is Vatech by 40.5. Did not do totals today, so I apologize for that. And it is, for some reason, it's 22.5. I almost couldn't find it for a second. So I'm going to lay the 22.5 with Virginia Tech. 6:30 NC Central App State. I project App State 11. It's 5.5. I'll lay the points. Big Ten Network, Charleston Southern, Ohio State. Ohio State, it's giving 26.5. I'll lay the points. I have 38.5. 7 o'clock, Johnson, Florida, Stetson, Goshen, West Michigan, NVU, Lyndon over Hartford, but could be over Hartford. Hartford's not good. Penn State, New Kenningston, VMI, Mid-America, CU, Texas State, Delhi, New York, Cornell, MSW, Troy, Clark, Merrimack, Florida National, FIU, Quinnipiac, Stonehill. My line is Quinnipiac by a whopping 23, and it is, let's see here, 9.5. I'll lay the points with Quinnipiac. Tennessee Wesleyan, Tennessee Tech, Oakland City, Chattanooga, Mid-Atlantic Christian, William & Mary, Western Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky. My line's Western by 14.5, and it's 8.5. I'll lay the points. Presbyterian Citadel. Citadel's giving 2.5. I'll lay the points. I have it at 13. Couple we could skip. Dean, Holy Cross, Immaculata, Delaware State, Penn State, York, UMBC, UMass Lowell, Columbia. UMass Lowell's giving 7.5. I'll lay the points. I have it at 13. Towson, UMass. I have UMass 4.5. And UMass is giving only 2.5. So I'll lay the points with UMass. I feel like Towson's going to be a popular bet in this game. Colgate Brown. I have Colgate 4 and a 6.5. I'm actually going to take Brown getting the points. It's the first time I'm taking a dog on the show today. Sacred Heart Rockers. I have Rutgers by 32, and it's 21. So I'll lay the points with Rutgers. Loyola Maryland, Penn State. Penn State is giving 17.5. I have 30, so I'll lay the points. Western Carolina and Maryland. I have Maryland's favored by 24. And they're giving 20.5, so it's close. So I'll lay the points. Couple we could skip. 7:30. Southwest of Venice, Sam Houston, Penn State, Allegheny, Morgan State, Spring Hill, Sanford. Next up, Gardner Webb, Stephen F. Austin. This one's a little interesting, in my opinion. Stephen F. Austin's giving 6.5. I'll lay the points. I have it at 10. Dallas Christian, UL Monroe. We could skip. 8 o'clock, we have North Dakota State at number 5, Kansas. I have Kansas by a whopping 42.5. It's 23.5. I'll lay the points. Texas Southern and number 25, Texas Tech. Tech is giving 19.5. I'll lay the points. I have 37.5. Kansas Christian Tarleton, we can skip. North Alabama, A&M. I have North Alabama by 4.5 and Bama A&M fair by 1.5. Give me North Alabama plus 1.5 and plus 108 to win outright. Hannibal, LaGrange, and Lindenwood, we could skip. Illinois State and Eastern Illinois, I have State by 2. And it is 9.5. That's ridiculous. Give me Eastern Illinois plus 9.5. Southern Illinois and Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's giving 25. And it is 7.5. So I'll lay the points. Cleveland State, Cincinnati. I have Cincinnati by a whopping 42. And it's 22.5. I'll lay the points. Central Michigan, Marquette on Fox Sports 2. I have Marquette by 29. And it's 17.5. I'll lay the points. Omaha, Nebraska. I have Nebraska by 31.5. 17.5 is the number on FanDuel. I'll lay the points. Radford, Notre Dame. I have 35.5. And Notre Dame is giving 18.5. I'll lay the points. Bethune-Cookman at number 13, Indiana, on the Big Ten Network at 8:30. I have Indiana by a whopping 51.5, and it's 31.5. I'll lay the points. Arkansas Baptist, Little Rock, we can skip. 9 o'clock, Fox Sports 1, North Dakota at number 9, Creighton. I have Creighton by a whopping 48.5, and it's 30.5. I'll lay the points. Houston Christian at number 12, Texas on the Longhorn Network. I have Texas by a whopping 49, and it's 34.5. I'll lay the points. Western Colorado and Weber State, we can skip. Same goes for Westcliff, Idaho State, Colorado College, Denver, La Verne, in Southern Utah, Walla Walla, and Idaho. Next up, Northern Arizona and Arizona State. I have Zona State by a whopping 43. And it's 15.5. I'll lay the points. Nichols and Wyoming. At 10 o'clock, I have Wyoming by a whopping 34, and it is 15.5. I'll lay the points with Wyoming. Cal Poly, San Francisco by 36, and it's 15.5. I'll lay the points. Georgia Southern, Santa Clara, Santa Clara by 26, and it's 13.5. I'll lay the points with Santa Clara. UC Riverside and Loyola Marymount. I have Marymount by 15. It's 6.5. I'll lay the points. Vermont and St. Mary's. This is an interesting one. I have St. Mary's by a whopping 24. And it is 7.5. I'll lay the points with St. Mary's. And last but not least, Alabama State at USC on the Pac-12 Network at 11 o'clock. I have SC by a whopping 51. It's 24.5. I'll lay the points with SC. All right, now move on to the NBA. We'll recap the games from last night and look ahead to today's games. It was a busy slate yesterday as well, obviously, with everybody being off on Tuesday. Magic over the Mavs 94-87. Blazers over the Hornets 105-95. Nuggets over the Pacers 122-119. Jazz over the Hawks 125-119. Celtics over the Pistons 128-112. Nets over the Knicks 112-85. Raptors over the Rockets 116-109. Pels over the Bulls 115-111. Suns over the Timberwolves 129-117. Bucks over the Thunder 136-132 in double overtime. Grizz over the Spurs 124-122 in overtime. Clips over the Lakers 114-101, and the Kings over the Cavs 127-120. 4 games. 7 o'clock, you have the Mavs at the Wizards. For this game, I have the Mavericks by 7.5, total 217 and 3/10. And it's 3.5 and 208.5. I'm going to take the over. That is just a super low total. NBA TV Sixers Hawks best game of the night. Hawks are 1-point favorites, total to 22.5. I'm laying the 1. I love the Hawks. I have 5 and 2, 23 and 3/4. Hornets Heat. Heat's giving 10.5, total 214.5. Taking the over, I have 10 and 3/4 and 219 and 1/10. And then last but not least, the Trailblazers at the Pelicans. I have Pelicans by 8.5, total 224 and 3/4. And it's 6.5 and 226. I'm going to lay the points with the Pelicans. All right, now move on to hockey. We'll go over the games from last night and look ahead to the games being played tonight, which is a large window for tonight. Panthers over the Hurricanes 3-0. Canadians over the Canucks 5-2. Pens over the Capitals 4-1. And the Wild over the Ducks 4-1. All right, now we look ahead to tonight. 7 o'clock, we have the Flames at the Bruins for Boston. Flames off to a really slow start this season. Boston obviously off to a fire start. Boston's minus 188. Flames are plus 155. Over under 6. Overs minus 118. Unders minus 104. Flames plus 1.5 is minus 162. Bruins plus minus 1.5 is plus 132. And they go with the under. Bruins have been an under team this year. Golden Knights Sabres, not a terrible game. Jack Eichel back in Buffalo. Oh. Vegas is minus 162. Buffalo is plus 134. Over under 6.5. Overs minus 104. Unders minus 118. Vegas minus 1.5 is plus 148. Buffalo plus 1.5 is minus 184. Because of the narrative I just mentioned, Buffalo's winning this game as the home underdog, plus 134. Oilers Hurricanes. Canes are minus 137. Oilers are plus 114. Over under 6.5. Overs minus 128. And there's plus 104. Oilers plus 1.5 is minus 215. Canes minus 1.5 is plus 172. This is a tough one, but I'm going to go with the Canes in regulation at plus 112. Flyers, Blue Jackets. Jackets minus 114, Flyers minus 108, over under 6.5, overs minus 120, unders minus 120. Flyers plus 1.5 is minus 280. Columbus minus 1.5 is plus 211, or plus 220. And Columbus just went down to minus 111 as a favorite. I feel like this is Vegas knows. Give me Columbus minus 111. Rangers, Red Wings. Rangers are big road favorites, minus 164. Detroit's plus 136. Over under 6. Overs minus 120. There's minus 120. Rangers minus 1.5 is plus 148. Red Wings plus 1.5 is minus 184. I kind of think it's smart to fade the Rangers right now. They're not playing well. Detroit, beat the Rangers the other day. I'm going to pick the Red Wings to upset the Rangers plus 136. I don't like what I've seen from the Rangers lately. And pretty much this whole year. Suns, Devils. Devils minus 184. Suns plus 152. Over under 6.5. Minus 110 each way. Suns plus 1.5 is minus 168. Devils minus 1.5 is plus 136. I like the under. Devils are playing good defense, and their goaltending's been really good. 7:30, Coyotes, Islanders. Isles minus 275. Coyotes plus 220. Over under 6.5. Minus 110 each way. Isles minus 1.5 and Coyotes plus 1.5 is minus 110 each way too. Under. I know they went over last time, but that was because the Rangers collapsed in the third period. Sharks, Blues. Blues minus 160. Sharks plus 132. Over under 6. Overs minus 114. Unders minus 106. Sharks plus 1.5 is minus 188. Blues minus 1.5 is plus 152. I'm going to go with the over. 9 o'clock, Predators, Avalanche. Avs minus 172. Preds plus 140. Over under 6.5. Overs minus 118. Unders minus 104. Preds plus 1.5 is minus 162. Abs minus 1.5 is plus 132. This is a tough one, but give me the under. 10:30, Blackhawks Kings. Kings minus 280, Blackhawks plus 225, over under 6.5, over is even money, under's minus 132. Blackhawks plus 1.5 is minus 106, Kings minus 1.5 is minus 114. Give me the Blackhawks plus the 1.5. I don't think they'll necessarily win. I just think that this game is actually close. I don't think the Kings should be that big of a favorite. All right, now move on to college football. We had a couple games last night. We'll go over them, and then we have a few more games to discuss for tonight. So last night was more action. Northern Illinois over Western Michigan, 24-21. Central Michigan over Buffalo, 31-27. And Kent State over Bowling Green, 40-6. Two games, 7:30 ESPN. You have Tulsa, Memphis. From the Liberty Bowl, Memphis in this game is favored by 6.5. Total is 62.5. Give me the over, but a slight one. I have 5.5 and 64 and 7/20. So very, very close projections here. And I kind of like a slight over for the pick. And then on ESPN2, Georgia Southern and Louisiana. Louisiana's giving 3.5. Total is 63.5. My numbers are 1.5 and 60 and 17/20. So the pick here is going to actually be the under, believe it or not. And I would throw Georgia Southern into some underdog round robin parlays as well. All right, Thursday night football tonight on Amazon Prime. You have a rematch of a entertaining game from a few weeks ago, but this time it's in Charlotte as the Panthers are hosting the Falcons. It should be an interesting game. A lot of key injuries defensively for Atlanta and offensively. So Casey Hayward, AJ Terrell both out in the secondary, and then Matt Hennessy out. The offensive lineman, the center, is out for Atlanta too, which is brutal. They're still favored in this game by 2.5. Total's 42.5. I love the over. We just saw these two teams go in a shootout the other day, and Atlanta's missing some key defenders. I don't know who's starting for Carolina. So it's going to be P.J. Walker instead of Baker Mayfield. So that changes at least my line projection, because I'm not the biggest P.J. Walker fan, although he made that incredible throw the other night. So my projections are Atlanta by 4.5, total 47 and 3/20. So I still like the over a lot in this game. All right, now I'll move on to golf. We didn't get the golf yesterday because we had election stuff to cover. But we finally get to it for today. The Houston Open is underway. Early leaderboard. And then I'll give out my pick. And first is David Zalipsky at 2 under, tied for second. With 1 under is C. Thiglia, Jason Day, Adam Long, Russell Knox, Kelly Craft, Jason Hadley, Robbie Shelton, Alex Thoren. Actually, not Alex Thoren, Zicheng Du. Tied for 10th and even is Alex Thoren, Richie Rensky, Hideki Matsuyama, Trey Nolmax, Taylor Montgomery, Aaron Weiss, Francesco Molinari, Henrik Norlander, Ryan Moore, Sang-Woo Kim, Dylan McCarthy, Will Gordon, Byung Honan, Patrick Knowles, Harry Hall, MJ Daffé, Trevor Werblow, Austin Eckroth, and Nico Echevarria. Tied for 29th with 1 over. Austin Cook, Matt Walls, Adam Svensson, Danny Lee, Danny Willis, Scotty Scheffler, Nate Taylor, Sang-Yul No, Justin Rose, Joaquin Herman, Sebastian Munoz, Luke List, Evan Van Rooyen, Tyler Duncan, Justin Lauer, Adam Schenk, Kevin Stroman, Michael Gilge, Cam Young, and Sean Jacklin. I'm going to go through notables for the rest before I get into more tee times. Tied for 49th with 2 over is Ryan Palmer, Ben Martin, Doc Redman, Peter Malnati, Zach Johnson, Robert Trev. 58th with 3 over, Beal Hostler. And then 9:30 tee times, Brent Grant among notables. 12:25 tee times, Stephon Yeager, Wyndham Clark, Maverick McNeely. 12:36 Mark Hubbard, Patrick Rogers, Kevin Tway, Sam Piercy, Dylan Lingmerth, Dylan Fratelli. 12:47 Davis Riley, Matthew Neesmith, Lucas Hodges, Callum Tarrant, Brendan Steele. 12:58 Chad Ramey, Grayson Ego, Seb Straka, Stuart Stake, Harry English. 109 Joel Dahman, Cam Champ, Gary Woodland, Tony Finau, Mackenzie Hughes. 120 Nate Watney, Scott Stevens, Keith Mitchell, Martin Liar, Jason Duffner. 131 Aaron Ray, Taylor Moore, Brandon Wu, Charlie Hoffman, Taylor Pendrith, Adam Putnam. 142 Alex Smalley, Kramer Hickok, Matthias Schwab, Adam Hadwin, James Hahn. 153 Ben Griffin. 204 Davis Thompson. Ben Taylor, 215, and Joseph Brumlett. So for a pick for the Houston Open, I am going to go with someone that's a small favorite, or one of the small favorites. It's just a gut pick. At this point, I'm going to lay a fifth of a unit on Tony Finau at 12-1 to win the Houston Open. I just think this is his time to win a tournament here. All right, now I'm going to recap last night's episode of The Masked Singer. Fun show, as it always is. So this episode was sad because Leslie Jordan was a guest panelist, and obviously this was an episode dedicated to him since obviously he had passed away a couple of weeks ago. So very sad, as this episode was dedicated to the late Leslie Jordan. It was Hall of Fame night. Joel McHale subbed for Ken Jeong, who tested positive for COVID. So this is the first time in Masked Singer history where we had not one but 2 guest panelists, but one of them, and Joel, obviously, was due to Ken testing positive. I think we'll see Joel again this season with Ken, because he's usually on once or twice a season with the regular panel. The opening was Nicole singing Fame. She sang the version by Nautry Naughton, although it did say Irene Cara, but she did sing the Nautry Naughton version, which was the movie from 2009. Alright, so the first contestant up was the bride. At first you're probably thinking, oh, it's a female. Not so fast. There's a rose, a heart, a globe, a lot of junk, a rugged personality. He sang in arenas, went a solo route, and then there's music notes. And this person performed Shut Up and Dance by Walk the Moon. Excellent performance. And then they had a goat actually come out on stage. Hawkeye the Goat, because it was Hall of Fame night. And there was a medal that said Action Hero, and then he said no problem playing hero. Nicole said David Cordell, Robin said Karen Top, And I actually think that this could very well be AC/DC star Angus Young. Next up was Gopher Outer Space. Started a movement, rocks, cactus. There's a beach chair, party rocking. There was a Grammy. There was a dog. And he performed It's Your Thing by the Isley Brothers. And then there was this random girl, Crystal, that came out from the audience that his clue said LOL, which hints at laugh, comedian. Jenny said Martin Lawrence, Leslie said Flavor Flay, Joel said George Wallace, Robin said Sly Stone, and George Clinton. Venus Flytrap says he's in the Hall of Fame. He said he's done the job twice, once in his 20s and once in his 40s. And then he said his biggest hit came after his prime. Talked about being the best in the business. There's a horseshoe. And he performed Get Ready by the Temptations. And then the Venus Flytrap, there was a gold medal. It said 100 million. It said he took hits and blows. Leslie said Mike Tyson. Jenny said Bo Jackson. Nicole said Charles Barkley. And Robin said George Foreman. First unmasked was their aforementioned Venus Flytrap. My guess for this, I said Peyton Manning because he said he's done it twice. And he's done it in his 20s and his 40s. And I believe he was 40 when he won it in his last season with the Broncos. And he might have been 30 when he won it with the Colts, but maybe he was in his late 20s. Like before he did it. Or maybe MVP was what the 20s and 40s could have been what he was referring to. So that's why I went with Peyton. And I saw the horseshoe, Colts and Broncos, Hall of Fame. He's a Hall of Famer. So hits and blows. He's made over $100 million. That's where I landed on Peyton Manning. And then the big hit coming after his prime was the Manning cast. Jenny said Bo Jackson. Nicole said Charles Barkley. Leslie said Mike Tyson. Joel said Mickey Rourke again, which was awful. So that is what I call the Ken Jeong Memorial guess. And then Robin goes with George Foreman, and it was indeed George Foreman, so Robin gets it right. And that was awesome that they got George Foreman. That was like one of the loudest ovations I've ever heard on the show for an unmasking. Battle Royale was Bride versus Gopher. The song was All Star by Smash Mouth. The person that moves on was Bride. I thought Bride was better. So Bride moves on to the next episode. And then Gopher goes home. My guess for this was Otis Williams of the Temptations, ironically enough. Leslie said Flavor Flav. Joel said George Wallace. Jenny said Bootsy Collins. Robin said George Clinton, and so did Nicole. And they were right. George Clinton, Robin, 2 for 2 on the day. Nicole stole Robin's guess, so she was right. So George Clinton was indeed the gopher. So 2 Georges on the show, Foreman and Clinton. So next week's going to be interesting. It's going to be Bride against 2 more contestants. Hopefully they're females. That'd be nice. And I think that Bride could have some competition on next week's episode. Okay, now move on to Survivor. That was an interesting episode. So the immunity challenge is that the players balance the ball in a disc by holding a pole underneath, and at regular intervals, additional sections of pole were added, making it more difficult for the contestants. And if the ball was dropped, they're eliminated. Last person standing won immunity. And before the challenge, Jeff offered the tribe 4 days' worth of rice if 5 players sat out of the challenge. So the players that sat out were Cassidy, James, Jesse, Carla, and Sammy. And the person that won immunity was Owen, who outlasted Cody, Ryan, Noel, and Janine. So it was interesting challenge. And then the big story that was released before the immunity challenge was showed is that Dwight had Janine's idol, and Dwight passed it on to Jesse, who already had Cody's idol. And then Ryan established himself as a tribe provider. Sammy was saying that he would have been on the bottom as the only Baka member in the majority alliance of 7. He considered devastating from the group. So then we go to tribal. Obviously Owen's safe, so he cannot be voted out. And his name was being tossed around before the immunity challenge. So, and something I noticed was that there were some players rolling their eyes when Colin won the when Owen won the challenge. What am I saying, Colin? When Owen won the challenge, and hopefully Owen took note of that. Just because you were trying to get him voted out doesn't mean you roll your eyes that because he won immunity. You could just vote him, try to vote him out next week. Or maybe he'll grow on you and you don't have to consider him again. So it goes to tribal council, and it was a 9-2 vote as Janine gets sent home, and the other 2 votes were for Ryan. So the 2 people that voted for Ryan were Janine and Cassidy stuck up for Janine. And then Cody, Gabler, James, Jesse, Carla, Noel, Owen, Ryan, Sammy all voted for Janine. And by the way, Gabler was also in that challenge. I forgot to include that. So Owen outlasted Cody, Ryan, Gabler, Noel, Janine. So that's who Owen outlasted. So Janine is the first member to the jury this season. So we'll see her throughout the rest of the year. Should be an interesting show next week. I saw the preview. It looked like that Noelle was trying to make a big move. As she was trying to use a steal vote, and then there's a rumor out there that James lied to somebody, maybe about the vote. So it's going to be interesting on next week's show. We'll discuss it on the podcast next week. All right, news and notes time. Not a lot today for news and notes. We'll start in football. So Russell Wilson appeared to clap back after Pete Carroll applauded Geno Smith for playing with the wristband. Jeff Saturday has a passionate response to criticism over his qualifications. Of course he does. And I killed the hire on the show the other day. Titans rookie wide receiver Treylon Burks back to practice as the Titans opened up the 21-day window to return from injury reserve after turf toe. So that's good news for them. Matt Stafford has a concussion as he must clear to play Week 10 against the Cardinals. Kyler Murray has a hamstring injury and is considered day-to-day ahead of the big game against the Rams. Oof. The Packers claim Jonathan Abrams off of waivers. That doesn't surprise me. There was some frustration for Packers wide receivers as scapegoating of young wide receivers despite Rodgers' OTA absences isn't sitting well with some in Green Bay. Ooh. Let's go to basketball now. Nets promote Chuck Vaughn as their head coach. I think this was premature. I think that this could be a sign that they might, I don't know if they want to blow their team up or does Durant really like Chuck Vaughn. That's to be determined. But Jack Vaughn was a failed head coach with the Orlando Magic. I know he did a good job in the bubble as the interim after Kenny Atkinson was let go. And then he was an assistant under Nash. So maybe he does well here. You never know. And yesterday was a good start. They responded to him very well in that win over the Knicks, who I would not be shocked if Tom Thibodeau might be the next coach fired. It's either going to be him or his former boss, Doc Rivers, in Philly. Dwight Howard said he would have returned to the Lakers if they had been willing to give him a multi-year contract. Oof. And I don't remember if I mentioned this on the show, but he is going to be playing overseas now. Shams reports that NBA executives believe that the Knicks are stockpiling first-round picks to trade for a megastar. The only person I could think about is Kevin Durant. There's no doubt about it. It's either him or Anthony Davis. Davis would make sense too. But the only way that the Knicks, in my opinion, should trade for Anthony Davis is if they know and he actually is 100% healthy. And I don't think they're going to give up as much as, say, Minnesota did for Gobert. He's not going to get as much as Rudy Gobert got because that was the biggest overpay in the history of the NBA in terms of trades, and you can't convince me otherwise. I don't care how good it works out for Minnesota in the end. But I think it would take maybe Obi Toppin or Julius Randle, pick your poison. I know Obi would make sense. Maybe two big men. One of the young guards, like Quickly or Grimes, maybe Quickly, and 3 first-rounders. I would do it. And you got to keep R.J. Barrett if you're New York, I think. I know he hasn't made the big leap yet, this year at least, but I'd hang on to him unless it's like you're trading for like Giannis or Luka or somebody like that. So the LOL new low moment of the night came with the Minnesota Timberwolves. There was a possession played 5-on-4 as D'Angelo Russell forgot to check in. Like, who forgets to check in an NBA basketball game? That is absolutely ridiculous. LeBron James went to the locker room in the fourth quarter with leg soreness. Keep an eye on that. Baseball. Rays waive Nick Anderson as he'll remain in their minors if he clears waivers. Yikes. And he was someone that was awesome in the playoffs 2 years ago. Trey Turner is eyeing the Phillies as there are interesting rumblings that the shortstop wants to join Philly. I mean, of course, because they were in the World Series. So, of course, there's going to be players that want to go there and be a part of that team. Rivals don't believe Angels general manager as they are not convinced LA won't listen to Ohtani offers despite Perry Minasian's strong stance. I agree with those rival GMs. I still think there's a possibility Ohtani gets traded. I gave the good example with Odell Beckham the other day, and ever since that, I don't buy that crap, and you know it's lying season in baseball. Justin Verlander opts out as he declines a $25 million player option with the Astros and will become a free agent. I think he goes back to Houston most likely. I'm actually going to do my off-season predictions tonight on the show because the Edwin Diaz thing happened, and I just want to nail some of these predictions here. At the GM meetings, Brian Cashman says that they're looking for corner outfielders. I don't think that's a great sign when it comes to Judge's future on the team, in a way, but it also could mean better depth. And they have the big hole at left field. Like, that's where they need to upgrade. Aaron Judge and Paul Goldschmidt each earned the Hank Aaron Award for Best Offensive Player in their league. Not surprising. And they're probably your MVP winners as well. We'll find out a week from today. The Astros will raise their banner on March 30th on ESPN against the Chicago White Sox. So that's interesting. The White Sox hopefully are better than they were this past season. So the U.S. Men's National Team World Cup roster is out. I'm going to just quickly go over the roster. Real quick. So here we go. So it is Matt Turner of Arsenal, Ethan Horvath of Luton Town, and Sean Johnson of NYCFC. Defenders, Anthony Robinson of Fulham, Tim Ream of Fulham, Walker Zimmerman of Nashville SC, Sergino Dest of AC Milan, Cameron Carter-Vickers of Celtic, Aaron Long of the Red Bulls, Shaq Moore of Nashville SC, Joe Scally of Borussia Mönchengladbach, and DeAndre Yeldon of Inter Miami. Midfielders, Weston McKennie of Juventus, Tyler Adams of Leeds United, Yunus Musa of Valencia, Brendan Aronson of Leeds United, Callan Acosta of LAFC. That's a good one. Luca De La Torre of Celta Vigo, and Christian Roldan of the Seattle Sounders. The wingers, Christian Pulisic of Chelsea, Giovanni Reina of Borussia Dortmund, Jordan Morris of Seattle, and Timothy Weah of Lille. Jesus Faria of FC Dallas, Joshua Sarnget of Norwich City, and Haji Wright of Antalyaspor. So that's your roster for the U.S. men's national team for soccer. And bad news for Germany is that winger Marco Rios will miss the Cup with an injury for a fourth time in his career, which is not good for Germany. And some hockey news. Evander Kane will be out 3 to 4 months after his wrist was cut by a skate blade. Ouch. That's a brutal loss for the Oilers. And actor Ryan Reynolds confirms interest in buying the Ottawa Senators, but says he could use a sugar mommy to close the deal. Oof. All right, last but not least, my best bet of the day brought to you by FanDuel. I have one in mind. It's in college basketball, and I'm going to lay points with a West Coast Conference team that's usually really good, and that is St. Mary's. I'm going to lay 7.5 with St. Mary's over Vermont. I just don't think that Vermont can handle St. Mary's' defense. I think this is a double-digit win for the Gales. So give me St. Mary's minus 7.5 against Vermont. All right, that's it for today's show. I'll be back tomorrow recapping everything. We got everything for tomorrow and the weekend. It's going to be a monster show tomorrow, obviously. And then you have news and notes and best bet coming tomorrow too, as well as the Fab Five. Hope you guys have a great day, everyone.